All right.
You'd like to tell me about last night.
Oh, yeah, that? Phew, I'm bad.
Uh-oh. What did you do?
I'm just myself, which is bad. Bad and despicable and stuff like that.
Despicable me.
Yeah, despicable me. Well, the meditation was lovely, you know. It was kind of a guided meditation, a little casual conversation leading up to it. Hi, thanks so much.
I got way too much.
No one's here. I
I
think
didn't know. You
but-
gave me a lot of money and
it's not your
and
fault.
no direction.
No,
And so I just was like, I don't know, give me everything.
all right.
And I didn't get any plates, but since there's only like 2 of us, and you get your own box.
Well,
Thanks.
if
Well, if I would have known, I would have
if
gotten the
anyone's-
vegan
If
in.
anyone's listening and close to Pebble Hill,
Yeah, you guys
we
are
just
idiots.
got a Hot
Pizza.
Jewels pizza, so
You're screwed.
come on down.
Yeah. I didn't, because I was like, if I even put meat with the vegan, will she eat it? Like, I was confused about
No.
everything. Yeah.
I mean, I don't care.
oh,
I mean,
you can put it in the box.
mhm,
Okay.
I don't have purity issues.
I didn't really know. I was like, I don't
No, it's a good
know.
question, though, but thank you.
So
And then I
what
didn't
is-
even know if you were coming. I'm glad I decided to ask. Because that would have sucked ass. If I came back with a big box of pizza, just 3 of us and no vegan, I would have been like, oh no. Bad move.
I have pretzels.
I have pretzels.
Pretzels and tea.
Mm.
So was it the same thing? Bunch
No.
of ladies.
Oh.
There were three other men were there.
Wait, what are you talking about?
And
A meditation he went to last night.
To go harassing people.
well, yeah, I guess.
Yes.
That's my old favorite.
No, I was good. I stayed quiet.
Well, this doesn't have cheese, does it? No, it does have a little sprinkled on it. It's not much.
Mm-hmm.
I was good. I was quiet. When it was my turn to share, I just passed.
What meditation was it?
Hmm?
What meditation was it?
Over at the acupuncture.
Oh, the acupuncture you're going to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I just passed.
I passed. And then, you know, I get this Moses energy.
Uh-oh.
You know how crazy people think that they're like, who's that guy that put his hand in his jacket?
Napoleon or Jesus.
Yeah, people go to insane asylums because they think they're, well, you know, I'm Jewish, so naturally, I think I'm Moses.
Jesus too.
I could also be Jesus. Yeah, I should try
We're
that.
going Old Testament.
See how that goes. Moses, Jesus, it's all the same to me. Anyway, some gentlemen, they were sharing about, you know, being present and not being present and trying and things like that. And at some point, you know, the lid came off and I was like, I think I'd like to comment on this. And that was always a bad idea. But it was interesting, you know, I mean, I say the stuff that I say with an unearned confidence as if, you know, Moses has got the tablets and he's telling everyone what's what.
One with this.
That's why I call it a Moses
No, it's just
syndrome.
like veggies. Jeff's not eating it.
What is it, like olive pizza?
You part the Red Sea.
Where was it at?
Little lovely offices of Bridge Acupuncture right here in Doylestown. Hmm.
Did they get mad?
No, they were, I mean, they were engaged with it.
Oh.
They're hearing something kind of fresh, right, for the first time. And they were like, one woman said, I get it. I agree with everything you're saying. Should I just, how? How do we do that?
Yeah.
No. Well, come to Slacker Yoga and eat pizza. You'll be there in no time. So it's interesting, they heard it and responded to it. Hi. In a, somewhat constructive manner. But it's like, what's the next step? Right? If you hear a certain message and you're like, what? And it rings to you, what do? You just jump in your Lexus and drive away? Right? Which someone did. In a really beautiful Lexus sports car, jumped in a Lexus and drove away. So I don't know. It's just very interesting.
You have a
It's like-
Lexus, it would definitely be wise to just get in it and drive away.
Yeah, if you had a Lexus, just jump in and drive away is what you should do. Mm.
Just ate.
You don't need a piece of pizza, Dave. That would be weird.
Some,
I hate
Maybe.
too, but I'm probably gonna eat a piece of that pizza.
Oh, you should.
Crap on it.
one gentleman said after he
Yeah, eat
listened,
the one with the crap on it because
Said
Jeff
so-
doesn't seem to like it.
are you saying we should just be? And I said, well, isn't that already the case without your agreement? What you're supposed to be? How about what's happening already? So it's just funny to watch, the mind come in and say, how? And when you say how, that means I hear what you're saying, but it can't be true now. So I have to figure out how to get there later. And you're like, no, it's absolutely true now. But it's just interesting. So then the other gentleman says, oh, well, you've told us something. That's kind of cool. So what should I do? Just be? I'm like, well, who asked you?
Yeah.
What do you have to do about anything? So it's just really interesting to see how the habit of ideation and the habit of, self as a doer, as the decider, as the becomer, just continues to grasp at the present moment as if there were one, and says, what should I do? What should I do about what you just said? Because it sounds nice, and it'd be interesting if that you could say, blossom in my life, right?
But that seems like the natural question. Okay, cool.
Oh, there's no
What should
question.
I do?
Like a plate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the reflex.
Think about
Not what
me.
should I do? What can I do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even if someone says there's nothing to do, then you're going to try to figure out how to accomplish that.
Yeah, to do nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are you doing? I'm trying to figure out how to do nothing. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's too tricky. We just insist, we insist on remaining ourselves, operating through a corporeal certainty. Reality be damned. And I'm going to go in pursuit of, whatever it interests me, spiritually or otherwise. And I'm going to figure out how to do it or get it or be it. And it's like, no one asked you. Your sense of consciousness, durability, individuation, and choice making is an absolute myth. How's that? Therefore, what you do or don't do has absolutely no impact or effect on what this already is, which seems to be getting along quite well without you.
On one level. If I want to get across the creek on a bridge, with a bridge, and there's no bridge, and I want to build a bridge, building bridges, I'm going to have an effect on the environment. I know that's not the level we're talking about.
Well, see, but no,
That's
but
what
even
my mind is playing with right now.
But even, let's say, appreciate the level of, building a bridge or building a shelter, right? Or an insane asylum where we'll need to be sooner or later.
Retirement.
Yeah, for retirement. But even all structures are of the nature of, miraculous presentation. That's not being done because humans said, I'm going to do this. I mean, all the engineering, all the blueprints, all the materials, all the trucks, everything that comes to a so-called location to build a structure is, again, occurring absolutely of its own accord. And all of the so-called humans that are running around apparently doing everything by will are not doing everything by will.
How is the engineering, the getting the truck there, the building of the walls and stuff occurring?
It's all happening at the behest of a transcendent miracle.
Have hands will build, have eyes will see. Have
Okay.
ears will hear.
Okay,
Have sentience will feel.
there you go. Yeah.
And adjust our environment accordingly.
Yeah, and we think, oh, I chose,
Yeah.
I did that. Are you kidding? I mean, it's not that difficult to do an inventory.
Use the box.
And I don't mean a 12-step inventory, although those are very useful too. Do an inventory of what you control. Let's just throw olives around the room.
That is what I'm doing inventory.
Are you counting the olives, or you're pulling them off the?
I will eat all the olives.
Inventory of everything I can control, removing the olives, okay.
No. Yeah. It's not that difficult to see that even the most, let's call it mundane impulse that might have to do with appetite preferences, food taste and food texture preferences are not occurring by virtue of your choice or your control. If you like olives, you say, I like olives, right? If you don't like them, you say, I don't like olives. And because you have an opposable thumb, you can pick them off, a slice of pizza and put them in a cardboard box. And I did that. But if you just look, not even that deeply, even superficially, at whatever's moving through your consciousness that appears as a decision, as a rumination, as a plan, as a commitment to yourself, whatever, an argument with 1,000 people that are not in the room, everything is
How do you
occurring.
even go about not liking something? Like, you put it in your mouth, and whether you like it or not is like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
spontaneous, like.
Yeah. We're very, very quick at selfing, to borrow from Paul Hederman's language, or anthropomorphization, which suggests duration of self and all of the preferences and choices that we believe characterize our uniqueness. let's say you introduce someone to a taste of vacuity, right? A taste of you're not in charge. And they feel it, however they do, and they're even fond of it for the brief interlude. And then that snake jumps back in and says, how? How do I do this? Or, oh, you're saying I should just be then? You're like, how quickly this sense
doesn't have
of
anything to do with you.
sense of individuation jumps in to a sanguine, if not palpably beautiful moment of absence of self, and then goes claiming again. If we, as we, become, can I say, more conscious of the reflex of claiming, it's possible to see that, oh, that's not true. The claiming, therefore, may continue or attempt to continue in your so-called mind, but the claiming doesn't stick because you've seen. Seen means felt, means take it to the limit. Thank you, Glenn Frey. Or Randy Meisner, whoever wrote that one. You take it to the limit and you see that this reflex of claiming, which creates the apparition of psychological time, is non-binding. Then maybe if someone introduces you to a feeling of not self, to a felt sense of release, expansion, innocence, then that reflex to claim doesn't have to trip you up. That you don't convince yourself that what you're feeling now is the consequence of, let's say, someone else in the room speaking with arrogant, confident tones. The guy with the Moses syndrome. Yeah. You see that you've discovered that it wouldn't be such a bad idea if you were to occupy your present experience similarly with trumpeting, confident tones. Because what we're sharing or playing with happens to be, for whatever it means, true. I mean, you have to own the revelation of not self. Not as a philosophy, not as an agreement, not as a dutiful student of some non-dual religiosity. You have to own it as a palpable truth or observation of your own. So if you go to a meditation and the fucking muggles start yabbering about muggle shit, you can either remain silent, leave the room, or change the tone, change the tune with unabashed confidence. If people don't like you and they throw you out, oh well. It's like we seem to be waiting for some kind of event or some kind of authority or intervention to give us permission to speak the truth which we're not so sure of. How do you become sure? of the nature of your present experience? How do you become sure that some kind of revelation or appreciation or apperception is true, is genuine? Therefore, it informs your behavior. It informs the quality with which you communicate. You see, you're no longer a beggar, right? You're no longer asking someone else, even though they may be qualified, to assist you unravel the nuances of your own consciousness. You can unravel them quite fine yourself. That would suggest that if you're in some kind of room or experiment or meditation or whatever it is where topics like these may be shared, well, you can blurt some really gnarly shit out, you know, and knock over a few bowling pins. Or not go in the first place, or be quiet, or leave without saying anything, you know. I don't know. It's my nature to show up because it's kind of fun to meditate and see what people are up to, and then, you know, when it feels time, just let them have it. But not again not in a punitive, right, way. It's like, hey, we're sharing here, we've given each other permission to share something, you could say, about ourselves, about our experience, about the nature of this meditation, maybe the nature of reality. You go around the room, and when it's your turn, you know, turn on the water. Occupy the truth. Say it the way you feel it. Or, you know, you remain under the influence of the delusion of the average spiritual seeker.
It's just the average person in general. Like, it kind of is applicable across the board.
Oh, yeah. And it is challenging. I mean, there's a certain kind of art to this, right? Because most, let's say, meditation leaders or people doing a guided meditation or something will often refer to themselves, you know, anecdotally, experientially, to share something of their so-called experience and how mindful or not they are, right? So the attention goes back to them, their life experience, you know, what they do or don't do, blah, 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 blah. And for me, that's it's tiresome. Because, you know, it's just bullshit anyway, right? People are just making stuff up as if what they're sharing is true or actually happened or went down the way they said it went down, and therefore it implies what they want it to imply about their own, you know, spiritual accomplishments.
So, like, obviously made up.
It's just all made up.
Like, anything that you have to say about anything is obviously
And so that's a little shocking.
pieced together.
If, you know, for someone that's fond of referring to themselves in the first person or third person and talking about, you know, spiritual anecdotal reports that make it appear as if they've accomplished something, you know, to invite them to see that that's like not real could be a little challenging. But even if you're a participant in a group like that,
Turn it around on you, and it's like, oh, you just don't get it.
yeah, well,
You're just not there yet.
we're all very, very cleverly defended. Yeah. But this is the thing, you know, you're invited by whatever this is to release yourself from the banality of anecdotal reference. You are nonstop, red carpet, silver platter, good champagne, always being invited to release yourself from anecdotal representation. But we we don't go to the ball. It's our own ball, and we drive by. We just tell the limo driver, keep driving. But wait, here's the carpet and the audience and the ballroom is lit up. The champagne's really good. The silverware is perfect. Come, enjoy your own enlightenment. You tap the limo driver on the shoulder and go, keep driving.
Maybe we should just go back home.
Maybe we should go home. My hair's not right. Let's go back home. And so it's funny. You could say unconsciously, subconsciously, semi-consciously, as if there's conscious at all, and there's not. We self-sabotage by returning over and over again to anecdotal self-reference rather than release ourselves from the habit of anecdotal self-reference and wake the fuck up. Like, how about now? Do you want free, whatever that implies, or you want to just keep telling stories? Get to the end of your own book already. Close the end flap and cut it out. As you
Never-ending story.
yes, the never-ending story.
La, 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 la.
I love that movie.
Yeah, wasn't that the one with that like white teddy bear or something?
Dragon?
Mm.
Close to a teddy bear. Is there a teddy
It
bear?
had a teddy bear kind of face. It was a white dragon.
Yeah,
That's right.
with a teddy bear face.
Yeah. Here you are, as if
Like to see
even though there's no here, and there's no you here or are even here, and still, whatever the fuck this is right about now, right? Even though there's no now. Now, you can occupy this weird fucking self-transcendent goo ball by convincing yourself of one anecdotal reference after another, or you can wake up. Whatever that means to you, I don't know. You can't chart it too closely. You can't say too much about it because that's just another reflex of deferral. It's another reflex of objectification. It's another reflex that says, oh, I know what this is. Oh, I know how this feels. Oh, I know, blah, blah, blah. And you're dumb again. Dumbfounded again. Does this present moment need a how? It doesn't. There's no how. Right? Does it need you to commit to being? I don't think so. It's not holding its breath waiting for you or me or anyone to commit to anything, is it? Yeah. Yeah, God's like, yeah, we better pause and wait for them to figure this out. There's no pause button.
I wish there was something.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, really.
That's the opposite of what some people entertain themselves of saying, God is fulfilled through us.
Yes, God is fulfilled through us. Wow, she must be really
He gets
really
to know
disappointed.
himself, herself through us.
Yeah. If God were God, whatever gender or genderless God might be, he would be a fucking idiot to be fulfilled through the likes of us. Phew, boy, I would change the channel on this shit so fast.
Yeah.
But again, the Dalai Lama said, or the Buddha said, you wake up and laugh at the sky when you see that everything is perfect. Right. All right. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, no, I don't know what it would be.
You just,
Another adverse or attractive.
yeah. We have to make sure somehow that we're always on the scene. We don't know that it might be possible, if not preferential, to abnegate all control, all preference. The sense that, you know, I have to keep up with my spiritual practices, whatever those might be. Becoming, the myth of becoming and the myth of individuation are the same thing. If you've got a story about your life, and, you know, of course, everyone's welcome to have whatever, how many stories they wish to have. We're not suggesting, you know, that you would be advantageous to be story free. That's not the emphasis, the takeaway. But if you have a story, whatever it might be, when it is a story, you can see that you are fabricating it.
At the very least, that there's holes within holes within holes.
Yeah, your story is so thin.
So it doesn't necessarily have to even be that like you're fabricating it, because it's all the same, happening the same way without you, but somehow you can just see the holes in all of it.
Yes.
In how incongruent it is, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Yes. Incongruency and ambiguity are a lot closer to true than your story. To suggest that we're actually living in or as a irrational, incongruous, ambiguous, transcendent plasma is too strange for most people, most meditators. We become overwhelmed with the myth of what's going to happen to me and the myth of what do I need to do about that.
How am I going to manage? How am I going to manage this? How am I going to keep it all together? You're not, thankfully.
But as a body, as a person with a reputation we are overly committed to looking our best, to getting it right, to having our shit together, making the prudent decision.
And then just beating ourselves up when it doesn't go that way. Because you know it's not going that way.
You know, where we get clever and then we start having opinions about the way things are, including the way things are according to so-called reality. We will insist on an opinion, a preference, a cogent observation, no matter how weird our present experience becomes. Here's an avenue of free. Let's say you care about what you imagine is occurring presently. You tune into your experience, your body, your mind, your memory, your story, your sensations, and somewhere you have I don't know, a hint of restlessness or a hint of insufficiency or a hint of yeah, this doesn't feel as good as it should. So what's happening is you've become way too interested in the way you think you're feeling about things. That's a subtle root of, let's call it, samsara or egotism. You have to become sufficiently interested and likewise concerned about how you're feeling to have a preference, to have a story, to have a conclusion or a motive that you feel you would be better off if this would feel like this or that. You see? So that claiming and grasping reflex is so deliciously subtle. We don't even have, cogent vocabulary to reflect upon this, call it internal or intimate process that occurs as we're scanning ourselves, if and when we're scanning ourselves, to come up with a report on whether we're feeling okay about the way that we're feeling. Freedom, were there any, could suggest that you don't have any particular interest in the way that you're feeling or the way that you're feeling about the way that you're feeling. Right? Like all of this conditioned homeostasis, conditioned homeostasis that might have something to do with your psychiatric or emotional or sentimental profile is total horseshit. And you are just simply not pushed around by it anymore. Someone comes to a Sunday meditation, turns their phone on and starts reciting into their phone how they're feeling about things, right? I mean, that's kind of a humorous demonstration of how wacky we are. But even if we don't have the phone, we're still doing it. right? We're inebriated, really, with how we're feeling about things and what to do about it. And I would argue, because why not? That's not so much freedom. All right, what is that saying? I know what that's saying.
It's saying like taking away your freedom.
Yeah, really. Here's the block with the thing. Uh-huh. Ooh. How did I do this the last time?
You have to probably switch that one and that one. So that can be in the bottom. Or turn it upside down if it works. Might have one, it's too big. Don't force it in there, dude. It's one thing is bigger than the oh. Never mind.
Oh, wait. It might have been that the...
It's like a Sesame Street lesson.
Really? Oh, cool. As the harmonic or the meme of being a person
Yep.
starts to
Yep.
shift or relax, then you don't have a lot to say about dismantling the myth of being a person, because you're already onto yourself, right? You're like, oh yeah, I'm feeling, the nature, the texture, the curiosity of presence. Being a person is not interfering with my capacity, my sensitivity to feel this. I don't have to negotiate with myself or my disappointments or my fears or my lack of control. I don't have to recite stories which are just anecdotal protuberances of myth. I can actually start to feel, call it a homecoming, a welcoming, call it what you will. You just feel yourself. And you're not feeling yourself through the lens of being a person with disappointments, or a person with a past, or a person even with a present, or a person with a future. Right? You're starting to pick up the wavelength of a transcendent plasma, very playful,
Animated.
transcendent plasma. And you see that the reflex of grasping, or the reflex of clinging, of asserting, of accusation, doesn't serve you. It doesn't help you with survival. It doesn't help you with
Do anything.
confidence, with the ability to function in the world, or with so-called other people. It really,
You neurotic.
Yeah, besides making you absolutely neurotic, it does not serve you. So someone that says, how do I feel that way too? You can tell that they're half interested, right? Again, none of this is blatantly conscious. You know, it's all weird ways that we defer and avoid and return to self in order to avoid annihilation. You slip out from under the conditioned reflex of becoming, or what about me, or why can't I feel this or that so-called permanently, or how do I remind myself more frequently, or, you know, all of these other kinds of sincere, right, strategies. It's like you have to be willing, if not interested, for life to pass you by. For life not to include you. I really. It's a good bump in the road, you know, it's a little terrifying. It's like, you know, being a ghost in a way of speaking. Right? Because the maddening world of people and things and running about and doing and planning and all of the misanthropic horseshit that goes on, and, you know, you're a ghost. You don't mind, you're not concerned that life might pass you by. Because you could say your nourishment, your reflections upon reality, have revealed to you a very different matrix than the matrix of materialism.
I just thought of an irony. $29.95. You can find out how to be happy with nothing. And if you act now, you can get twice the effect.
Especially if it's your last $29.95. We were talking the other day, I think it was over at Wegmans, about you know, the whole culture of tithing and abundance. Whether, you know, the Joel Osteen brand or, you know, other huckster evangelists that bilk people out of money so that they'll have a better shot at God's grace. We end up just paying protection money. We treat God as a local punk mobster who scouring the neighborhood for this week's protection donation.
I just talked to a Jehovah's Witness that was like that. It was like, oh my God, what? You know, only 144,000 or something. God's gonna come down and kill everyone else.
Rock and roll.
They're just
Get your
gonna, yeah, get your ticket. I know. It's weird.
To really plumb the depths of one's fractured consciousness. Takes a little courage, a little motivation, a little interest. You know, pinch of magic, or a half a cup at least. Because as you sink down into yourself, observing the movements and the flitting about and the delusionary seduction, you can get quite a glimpse of just how poignant and just how formidable grasping and clinging and taking up stakes and time and space and body and self are. But if you're not released from self by some miraculous intervention, and that occurs, then, you know, if you're going to take the slow road, which I would imagine is the more common way that something like liberation flowers, well, you have to tough it out. You know, you have to look at restlessness in the face, and loneliness in the face, and fear in the face, and irrelevance in the face, and abandonment or shunning, or, you know, being misunderstood, or you have to look at all of these, you know, potent, call them human profiles, to see whether they still, you know, whether you're still shocked by them or not.
You have to kind of put some depth into the superficiality of
Yes.
what they all are.
Yes. You're invited to apply yourself to mining your present experience more deeply than most muggles are prone to mine themselves. But if you do it, if you're invited to do it and you respond somehow to that invitation, then you could say the fruits of that endeavor, the fruits of that contemplation, of feeling what there is to feel, grappling, you know, with one's own demons and sorrows and regrets and shames and disappointments, then at least from a so-called human perspective, you know, hopefully you can occupy yourself with a little more humor, a little more bodhicitta, a little more compassion. You can speak, let's say, more confidently, non-regrettably, right? About how you feel this. Without manipulating people, right? Like politicians and actors and CEOs and, public speakers, right? I mean, they're all trained to speak humorously and confidently and somewhat depthfully about one subject or another, right, for purposes of education or purposes of manipulation or swaying opinion, whether it's public opinion or investor opinion or you name it. We're speaking about plumbing the depths of your own profundity and taking the risk to articulate your education, your view, your revelation, the nature of reality as it presents itself to you, and right, being able to put that out there, whatever out there might mean. Brahman is wearing you like a sweater. Most Muggles identify themselves with the sweater. The Jnani, she knows that she's Brahman. Not the sweater. This has some devastating implications. Because all that shit that we've done or might still do for improving the etiquette of self that's just done. We're no longer committed to improving the etiquette of self. The profundity of our presently occurring, as if something were occurring, loyalty is as Brahman. Brahman being, fuck if I know, the absolute, right? The unperturbable. When we want to know how to make progress in so-called spirituality, we're usually asking that question from the vantage point of the sweater.
It's about as relevant as like, how do I zip and unzip this sweater? Like,
Yeah. So the real journey that's occurring under the radar, if you will, simply put, amounts to the recognition and revelation that you are Brahman, you are not the sweater. Then all of the karma of the sweater is resolved, even if its circumstances and events are unenviable. We want circumstances and events to be enviable, preferential,
mostly enviable.
mostly enviable. And, that craving, if you will, is accompanied by or the same as the myth of existential durability. We want to figure this out, or we want the Guru's grace so that we don't suffer anymore. Or we can put our handprint, in the Hollywood walk of famous enlightened persons. What would your present experience be if it were not made relevant somehow by circumstances and events of the myth of the species? I mean, everything that we think about ourselves, whether positive or negative or with anticipation, is all going to be influenced by the default or generic myth of the species, right? The relevance of my birth, the relevance of my body, my stuff, my children and grandchildren. But what if your present experience didn't have to be made relevant or cogent by virtue of any coordinate? Right? In other words, your present experience is not measurable by the memes of the psyche of the species or the profound biologic urgencies of offspring, siblings, parents, right? All these lovely loyalties that we have, that people that we love should be safe.
I was just thinking. Never mind. I was thinking, like, it's funny how, like, it's just not. It doesn't seem like it's okay in society to be like, oh yeah, I'm just totally cool with death. I really don't care if I die or not. And I was like, it's interesting that it's even worse to take it a step further and say, I don't actually care if anyone I care about dies or lives. That's like, whoa,
Yeah,
now you're
really.
now you're fucked up. That's no good.
Yeah, because you could be somewhere, having a bad day, somebody might not know how to respond to. Yeah, that kind of mood of, I don't care if I live or die today. I don't care. I don't, da-da-da-da-da. Have a nice day. I don't care if my mother and my children.
then yeah, you're a psycho, like, right? It's even worse. Now you're like, dude,
Yeah, you're a psycho.
What was it?
kids and walk away.
Sheila's daughter overheard her saying something. What this? Remember that? The daughter got a little worried about it. Mom,
I vaguely remember something. Yeah.
I am nobody. I am nothing. No, there was something. I said,
Oh,
Mom,
wow.
Mom, are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I just can't remember what she was dancing with.
Well, it's just funny because it's not an insensitive statement. It's just that death is not, it's not a big deal. It's not anything. Doesn't, it's just another imaginary idea of whatever it is you think.
You can see how in order to create some kind of cogency for your present condition and or what you're going to do about it, you have to sign up for the archetypal myth of the species so that you have more or less placed yourself within a field of, let's call it morality or news, obligation, responsibility, durability, existence, right? You have to create a frame of reference, very subtle, you could say profuse, profound frames of reference, so that you can convince yourself of the condition that you're in. And we're playing around with what might it feel like if we didn't do that. I mean, even just to get a little sniff of it, right? A little taste of it. You could say your imagination or your presence, your intelligence, your sensitivity, right? Your radiant, transcendent, radiant nature can feel itself absolutely unencumbered by loyalty to any coordinates. During that guided meditation, there was frequent and sincere encouragement to let go of various qualities of identification. But that's delusional, you see. Because if you're invited to let go of an arbitrary quality of identification, well, how do you do that? I mean, you never really owned it in the first place.
You don't actually know where it is.
You don't know where it is or what it's made of, and you don't actually own it or possess it. So if someone says let go of it, you're like, fuck you, no. I let go of what? You see, so the dilemma with a guided meditation that encourages you to let go of a long and sincere list of possible identifications is not going to work.
It ironically emphasizes. the
Yeah,
very thing.
well, what
It
it does,
Emphasizes
You point
them.
to something.
you have to
Yes.
dig around to find it.
Right.
So you have to dig around and
Yeah.
piece it back
Yeah.
together and
That's
actually
right.
create it
Yes.
before you can even
Yeah,
begin to.
you have to first assign yourself to it, know what it is that's being referred to, and then commit yourself to letting go of it. It's like, excuse me?
10 seconds.
Yeah, all in
like
10
10
seconds. You better hurry because the
Why
next.
don't do well with guided meditations.
No.
Because even if they say, okay, visualize your favorite place now, and it's like, well, wait,
Yeah, I'm like,
didn't
no, I don't
get
even know.
there
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, really. Hold on. Right. I'm not sure if I'm in the beer garden or at the nudie bar.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
let me get there.
I'm combining the
Yeah.
two. So
Really.
I don't know. Hang on.
Right. Yeah. Am I flying an F-14 or am I at the local,
Like,
exotic dance
like
club?
Everything that binds you, yeah, that.
Yeah, so you see the binding. This is the fun thing to see, or maybe the maddening thing to see. Why not be both fun and maddening? You can see, the binding that happens in your so-called psyche, in your space, in your mind. We don't know what the fuck this is, so all of these words, none of them mean anything, but right? You can get a sense of the binding that occurs in your imagination that forces your hand.
I just have this strange imagination. We sleep in a certain shaped jar. We grow into the shape of the jar.
Yeah,
Yep.
right?
Exactly right. Yep. We grow to the shape of the jar. And even when the lid comes off, we're still there. Yeah. That's right. It's fun to feel these things, to articulate them, because you can get a sense of whether there's a bridge or not between how we typically operate during the day and what it is that we're implying by having this kind of blasphemous conversation.
I think there's sometimes, and again in my own mind as well, an errant assumption that now all of a sudden it's going to change. And I'm aware of, I'm seeing something that I wasn't seeing before. And that's not necessarily the case at all.
No. This is strangely, well, for fun, hyperdimensional. This is not logical. It's not rational. So we might speak in, evocative or rational or semi-rational or blasphemous tones to play around with the texture of the psyche and the texture of identification. But if something's actually getting under your skin, right, it has nothing to do with a sticky note on the fridge. That's why it's a challenge to, someone says, oh, what do you guys do there over at the Night Sky Sangha? It's a sincere question, if it is one, and it's not so easy to reply to.
So when Bruce wanted to join me in No Farce conversation, I'm like, does he know we talk about like tapeworms? Just put funny hats on, like
Yeah, tapeworms and funny hats.
we don't actually talk about it. Anything important.
Was that about having Bruce join you on the calls?
Yeah. Does he know what he's getting into?
Tapeworms and funny hats. He thinks he's getting into some kind of non-duality conference. That's great. Yeah. We left the non-duality conference a long while ago. Now it's just tapeworms and funny hats.
Who's Bruce?
Our friend in Massachusetts.
He wanted to join anyway. It was just.
Yeah, man, we don't talk about non-duality or liberation or anything like that. We just
We
riff.
try to, but we just end up on tapeworms and funny hats.
Yeah, we just riff on the foolishness of liberation. Hardy, hardy, ho-de ho. Hardy ho, Kyle, hardy ho. Well, any questions?
Just the question mark.
Yeah.
That brownie kicked me in. I ate before I came and ate the brownie, but I ate some brownies.
Didn't that slacker yoga invigorate you?
Ate too much.